now.
So I'm opening it up, right? I'm opening.
Absolutely.
Okay.
This is your show.
Okay.
Yeah.
You just tell me when. We are competing with Dr. Herring, you know, she's doing that little thing tonight, so we're competing.
This is your show.
My show. Our show.
Yeah.
You just tell me when.
Hello, everybody.
Hey,
Hi,
Tina.
we're live now. Just so you know.
Okay.
We can continue to wait while I set up the share of the PowerPoint, but we are live.
Okay.
And if you're watching on your own, it's a delay. You're watching from the YouTube channel on your side.
For everybody that's out in the audience, we'll start in just a minute. Okay. Well, it is 6:30 in the evening, and we're getting ready to have a nice little curriculum night meeting with everyone in the audience. Thanks for being here. Welcome. We just wanted to kick off our curriculum nights, and we have open office hours next week with our teachers. Wanted to kick this off with just a little overview of where we are as a school, as Midtown High right now. I've got some wonderful people on the Zoom with me right now. We've got Patrick Johnson, our athletic director, Carrie McBrien, one of our assistant principals who works closely with social studies, Takesha Hollis, another assistant principal who works with math very closely, Melissa Davis, assistant principal who works with science, Dr. Blankenship, Shagita Blankenship, who is our department team leader for counseling, Tina Palekia, our 9th grade counselor, Rodney Howard, assistant principal, who works with CTAE and PE and JROTC primarily, and Mr. Montero, Brian Montero, who is our media specialist and is helping with technical things today. Did I miss anyone on our call? Who else is on here? Ms. Hollis, anyone that I've missed?
Mr. Vincent, did you say him?
I just didn't see him on here, but Mr. Vincent, Willie Vincent, who's kind of like the wizard behind everything that happens. He's like behind the curtain. Nobody sees him, but he does an awful lot. And he likes it. He likes it that way. So he's on here as well. So had a good day today with our band and dance team and our JROTC color guard over at Howard Middle School today for the naming, the ribbon cutting of that new beautiful building, which has been delayed a year. The ribbon cutting and all of that was delayed a year because of the pandemic and virtual school, but that was wonderful to see our band performing with the Howard Middle School 8th graders in the band. That was great, and it makes me feel really good about them coming over and being a part of our Midtown band as well. So a really nice ceremony. A lot of David T. Howard alums there, and just really, really nice ceremony today. So I'm glad to be a part of that. Let's start with our meeting. As I said, next week we have our open office hours with teachers, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So looking forward to that. So we want to talk a little bit tonight about just current informations, our demographics, our map data, which hopefully all you on the call here have gotten your growth report, the parent report about your student. If you haven't gotten it by now, it should come in the mail tomorrow for sure. We mailed the majority of them over the weekend and Monday, so hopefully you have that. Coach Johnson will give an update on athletics, counseling center updates from Dr. Blankenship and Ms. Palekia, talk about the behavioral testing overview, SEL overview. We'll talk a little bit about our profile, our Midtown profile, SAT, ACT, AP exams. We don't have our graduation rate yet for 2021, still waiting on the state to crunch data with that. And then just talk about next steps with our signature programming updates, teacher office hours, and a little time for Q&A. So that's kind of where we are. We do have something I didn't put on here exciting coming up. We have Spirit Week coming up the week of the 12th. So the kids come back on the 12th. It's a holiday on the 11th, teacher work day. And so the week of the 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, we're having a Spirit Week, a fall Spirit Week. Lots of activities for our students, things for them to get excited about, culminating in a Friday afternoon activity. It also coincides with our Hispanic Heritage Celebration Month. Lots of great things coming up in the next couple of weeks about that. So please ask your kids about that, from door decorating contests to mariachi bands, all kinds of things happening over the next 2 weeks here at Midtown. So next slide. So people often like to know about our demographics, how many kids and that kind of thing. So as of right now, today, we have 1,546 students. That's about 40 less than what we were projected for, but a very, very comfortable. That's okay, 40 less. We didn't lose any teachers, didn't lose any money, things like that. So we're in good shape with that. Our 9th grade is our largest group with 453 kids, as Ms. Palekia knows, and Mr. Vincent, a huge number of 9th graders. 10th grade, 372, 11th grade, 382, and our 12th grade is 339. That's the lowest cohort that our school will have for a long time. We have big numbers coming up. And kind of our breakdown ethnically, demographic wise, our Hispanic and Latinx population continues to grow at Midtown High School. We have 9%, that makes up 9% of our population. Asian, 3%, Black or African American, 34%, white, 49%, and then students that identify with 2 or more ethnicities, 5%. That's our current demographics right now. As I mentioned, you should have your parent report at this point of the MAP data, the first administration of the MAP test, the MAP growth assessment. We'll do that again in November and again in March. So I'm going to let Ms. Hollis, Ms. McBrien, and Ms. Davis talk a little bit about all of that we've been going through, and we're still just trying to get those last few kids tested. It just never ends. So I'll let you all take that away.
Okay, I will talk about MAP data. So right now our MAP take rate is about 94%. So as Dr. Bachman said, we do have a few more students that we need to test, and we will get tested. And so just a quick review, the MAP assessment is an adaptive assessment. It does assess students' readiness level, skills, and concepts for math and reading. If you look at the data on the screen, blue stands for the high percentile, which is greater than 80%. You have green, which is the high average percentile, which the range of score is 61 to 80. The average percentile, which is in the yellow, is 41 to 60. Orange is considered low average, and the percentage for that will be 21 to 40. And the low percentile, which is in the red, is less than 21%. And so looking at just a high level overview of the MAP aggregated data, which includes math and reading. Midtown has the greatest number of students in the high and the average highest amongst all high schools in APS. Also, we have the lowest percentage of students who are in the low percentile. And the great thing about this information is that teachers can use the MAP data to make informed instructional decisions related to differentiation and cooperative grouping. And then lastly, just like I said, a high level overview, students demonstrated more readiness skills in reading than mathematics.
So as a parent, if my child, say my child scored at the 95th percentile in math, does that mean that my child is ready for college calculus?
Actually,
What
the
does that mean
percentile
what does
doesn't
that mean
mean,
if my child scored really high in something?
so it doesn't mean that the child is ready for any particular subject. What it is a norm data reference assessment where they are assessing mastery on the domains that are tested. So what that would mean is based on the 2020 trend data collected by MAP nationally, that student ranks amongst its peers at the 95 percentile on those standards covered in those 4 domains on that assessment. And it's the same domains that's covered on the math EOC, which are the operations and numeracy standards, statistics, geometry, and algebraic thinking. So those are like the standard 4 domains, and those are the domains that the MAP assessment assesses mastery of. So it's really to look at the growth of the student and where the student is now. So what parents received in the MAP family report was just baseline data to tell you whether or not your child is performing at or above the norm, which is that 50 percentile. And if they are performing above, what percentile they're performing in. It does not necessarily tell us the readiness for a specific subject area.
We just
And
said
I'll let Ms. McBrien or Ms. Davis add.
Sure. Just one thing I wanted to add, if you're not familiar with what percentile data means, it means that a student performed better than X percent of students within that same grade level or whatever is being normed. So if your student is performing at the 95th percentile, that means that student performed better than 95% of students of that same cohort.
And the same will hold true for reading. With the reading map data, the percentile scores is ranking the students based on their informational text knowledge, their literature knowledge, which is just their fictional readiness to assess comprehension on fictional pieces, and their vocabulary acquisition. So it doesn't necessarily tell us that they are ready for whatever class. The great thing about the reading map assessment is that it does give a Lexile level, and a Lexile level just measures the preparedness within a certain range to read certain types of texts that have been linked to certain grade bands. And Ms. McBrien, as a former ELA teacher, probably can give much more detail into Lexile levels.
I'd like the community to know that we did have professional development sessions with the staff. Let's see, it was just yesterday afternoon. So we work within the departments, shared the MAP data with the teachers, and kind of walk them through how to access various reports within the MAP platform, and then how to use that data to inform their instruction. And one of the things that that we discussed was how to, there are various platforms that we can use for teachers to differentiate the Lexile level of text. And so we shared with them kind of how to use a student's Lexile range to target a particular Lexile level as they're differentiating the text that they provide to students.
What kind of growth could we expect? Average growth, or what are we hoping for with our next administration, or into the March administration. Any thoughts on that, ideas?
We did ask that question in our training with the MAP representatives. And what we were told were the sky's the limit, but national norms say that students should have at least 4 points on their RIT score, which is the score that they see on the report, as their growth measure. Nationally, that has traditionally been what the mean growth point range would be, while saying that students can grow more than 4 points. That's just the norm. They also did caution us based on the data that they've collected over the past year, which is how they norm the data, that the RIT scores are slightly below what they were the last time MAP assessments were given nationally. And so therefore, we can't necessarily say whether or not students are going to do better or worse, because it's a new set of norms that we're using for this school year, which of course we all know is like none other.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, so we'll kick it over to Coach Johnson, or throw it over to Coach Johnson. Talk about kind of our achievements of last year and where we are right now.
Everybody, hope everyone's having a good evening. Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about sort of what we accomplished last year and where we currently are. Last year was a really good year for the athletic department. I think our best overall accomplishment was the Region All Sports Trophy winner, which is something we have not won, at least since I've been here. I'm not sure when the last time we won it was, but it basically goes to the school that finishes the highest in the region cumulatively across all sports. So we were fortunate enough to win that, which says a lot about not only our teams, but also sort of the depth of success that our different programs and teams had. We had 6 region championships in all, and we had 16 teams make either the state playoffs or the state meet. So whether that's track or cross country or volleyball or baseball or girls basketball or a lot of our different sports, we had 16 Grady teams representing in the state playoff and state meet. So that was a really a fun year, good to see, and a great time. Great way to send out Grady for our last year. As far as how this year is going, we're in the middle of our fall season right now. So we have a number of sports actually competing right now as we're on this meeting. Volleyball is currently tied for first place in the region. They just had their last region date last night. They split. They tied with Villa Rica, who owns the head-to-head tiebreaker, which means we will be the number 2 seed going into the region tournament next week. But again, that's being in first or second in a very tough region for volleyball. Again, it's something they haven't done. They've had a lot of success, but something they haven't done in the last few years. So they're in a good position to hopefully possibly win the region and make state as well. Our girls cross country team is ranked 6th in the state for all of Class 5A. Cross country, always a really strong sport here, but this year we are particularly strong. I was just talking with Coach Kramer this afternoon, and you have seven runners you get 7 runners at state, basically. And we have about 10 girls who are all competing with their times for those qualifying spots. So a lot of depth across the team, and they're performing really well. They finished 2nd in a major meet a couple weeks ago, and they have the APS championship on Saturday at Grant Park. So hopefully have a chance to come in first for that. And then lastly, a cool thing is our competitive cheer team, which is not a new program to the school. We've had it in the past, but we haven't had it for the last couple years. But our head coach, Lexi Smolko, made it a priority to get that back up and started for 2021. And they had their first competition last Saturday at Kennesaw Mountain, and they won it. They came in first place. I learned this, but it's called, they hit their routine, which means they didn't have any drops, any stumbles, any falls, basically error free. They hit their routine for the first time all season, not just in competition, but in practice and their run throughs and everything else. They hit it in the competition. So they had 0 deductions and finished first place. So a lot of great things happen with our different teams. It is busy as always, but it's a lot of fun to see our students all out there.
And one of our new teachers works with cross country, Mr. Moni, social studies teacher, working with cross country, which is great. So that's fantastic. Awesome. So we'll talk a little bit about our school profile. Dr. Blankenship, would you like to talk a little about this? Or Mr. Vincent? Yes. One of y'all?
Mr. Vincent, do you want to take it or you want me to go for it?
See, wizard behind the curtain.
Okay, well, I will jump on in. So this is our school profile. And so our school profile highlights what's been going on in our school as far as, academic data here. So if you look at the screen, this is a outline of how our students performed on their AP exams on last year. So we had 576 students that took a total of 1267 AP exams in a pandemic. So that is absolutely fantastic. And we had 68% of our students that scored 3 or higher on their AP exam. So those students will have an opportunity to transfer college credits based on their AP exam scores. Students that score 3, 4, 5, they can send their scores to a post-secondary institution and they could potentially go in with several college credits. And also here, we have our 2020 SAT results. Midtown 1082, Georgia 1077, and the national score is 1038. So as you can see, Midtown, we outscored the state as well as the national average for SATs. And again, all of this was in a pandemic, but our students were still able to kind of push through and keep those scores up there. Similarly, with ACT, Midtown at 24.2, Georgia 21.7, and the national average 20.8. So our students score above the national averages as well as the state average with ACT results. So we're just so proud of the work that our students continue to do academically. And even in a pandemic, when students, they weren't required to take SATs or ACTs, there were a lot of test optional schools, they weren't required, but our students still went ahead and took those exams and scored above the state as well as the national averages.
Dr. Blankenship, can you give a little voice to how great this was, considering that the students were on a 4x4 last year, when traditionally we're on a 4x8 as it relates to AP exams?
Absolutely. So even though we had students who may not have taken as many AP courses in the spring semester that they did in the fall semester, Midtown High School provided various supports for those students. They had tutorial options. We provided supports through Khan Academy. So when we went to a 4x4, we know there was some concerns about students maybe taking AP courses in the first part of the year opposed to the second part of the year. But as you look at the results, it showed that our students were still able to do very well with those additional supports. We had teachers, offering weekend tutorials as well as after school tutorials. The district also offered an AP boot camp for those students. So they were still really able to take advantage and get those scores 3, 4, 5 on the AP exams.
Okay. Mr. Vincent, I was wondering if you, just while we were kind of talking about AP, talk a little bit about our AP nights coming up. Nights, NIGHT.
Absolutely, because we offer a lot of AP courses. It would be very impossible to do them all on one night. So we have given teachers 3 options. Option number 1 is to just make a video where they share the same the information that they generally share every year. They generally know which questions people are going to ask so they can offer answers. The second option is to do a Zoom video of a Zoom meeting so parents can actually log in with students and do the live meeting. And again, those will be recorded and saved on the AP website. So teachers' presentations and the Zoom options will be preserved on the AP Corner. That's the website that we use for AP courses. And of course, the third option is to use the video that they used last year. Some teachers did a really great job of covering information, so rather than start from scratch. So everyone will have something saved that people can view even if they miss AP night. And we're adding another variable to that as well. Anyone who has a lingering question that is not answered through the videos or presentations will be able to fill out a Google form with specific questions, and we'll get the answers for you. That will start, those AP nights will start around the first week in November. We'll be sending those dates out in the next week or so. That's it.
Okay, thanks. So, as always, a lot going on in the council. I'm sorry. Go ahead. A lot going on in the counseling center. Even more this year. We are really happy with our new space. I know a lot of parents haven't been able to see that. If you came to orientation, maybe you did, but in the main floor of the new A building, which is also where our media center is, we have a really nice counseling center. For the first time and probably forever, our four counselors are in the exact same spot, not all over the place. So we've got them in a nice square where they're close to each other. And then we also in that area have a really nice, probably the best view, one of the best views in the whole new facility, right there in the kind of the lobby area where we have tables, like bar tables and stools where kids can work and do lunch, study and things like that. And then we also have an area there which has our two graduation coaches, Ms. Hatcher and Ms. Robinson, and then Ms. Maxwell, our 504 student success coordinator. We have room for Ms. Hoke, who is our clerk in that area and kind of holds everything together, and also great storage space, which we've never had before. And our CCC, College and Career Center, is right down the hall, and that is a really great space. With another great view into the trees over to the courtyard between the gyms. Really, really nice. So it's just nice to have a place that people can do their best work. So throw it over to Ms. Palekia and Dr. Blankenship.
All right, so the universal screener, the best three best. We have been very busy with this. This screener really focuses on the personal, social, and the mental health piece for our students. You heard a little bit or a lot about the map that focused on the academic piece. So we are addressing the students' needs, not only academically, but in the personal, social, and mental health realms as well. And so what the universal screener is, there are three screeners. There's a student screener, a parent screener, and the teacher screener. And so we're actually getting information from three different areas, three important groups that kind of, see students know themselves and can share how they're actually feeling. The purpose of this screener is to provide more supports and wraparound services for students. Because we've been in a pandemic, many of our students have been experiencing a lot, just like adults. And so from the district standpoint, our superintendent felt it was important to roll out something such as this, because she does have a school counseling background, to really focus on that personal, social, and mental health supports of our students. And so our students started last week with the screener. We're still working with the screener, but up to date, we have 1,312 students who have taken their personal screener. Additionally, teachers, they've completed screeners, and some of our parents have completed screeners as well. And so when we look at the measures, the screeners measure external as well as internal factors. And so when we're looking at it from a teacher and a parent standpoint, the screener measures the external factors, things that you can physically see, with your eyes. If you're seeing hyperactivity, if you're seeing signs of aggression, if there are some conduct concerns. However, students have an opportunity to really focus and hone in on their internal factors, because we can't see those, but students know exactly how they're feeling. Things such as self-esteem, social skills, self-regulation, any anxiety feelings, stress that they may be going through, they had an opportunity to express that on the screener. And so after all students are screened, we will have an opportunity, the student support team will take a look at the results and analyze those results to determine what type of supports we can provide for the students, what type of wraparound services we can provide to them. So the screener will measure 3 areas, and it will be based on a Berry T-score. And so we'll look at whether the students are in a normal range, an elevated range, or extremely elevated range. So students with a score of 60 or lower, that's considered to be the normal range based on their norm group. Elevated, anyone that scores between 61 and 70, that's an area that we really want to provide some support in. And then extremely elevated, 70 or higher. And so for those students that fall within the elevated and extremely elevated risk, we'll look at putting some additional supports in place for them, maybe looking at tier 2 and tier 3 strategies. Some of the students may need some mental health support. Some students may benefit from small group counseling, individual counseling, but to really focus in on those areas, those personal, social, mental health areas that could, of course, affect what's going on academically. Once we close the screener on October 1st, all parents will get a letter, just like all parents got information in regards to the MAP assessment, to show where their students actually fall based on the Berry T-score, and then have some conversations around members of the student support team. So we have a fantastic team. We have school counselors, we have our school social worker, our school psychologists, intervention specialists, graduation coaches. Everyone play a role that can support students in the various areas that they may need support in. So look out for that. Once that screener closes on October 1st, within a couple of weeks, we'll be able to look at everything and send that information out to you guys so you can see exactly where your students fall. The parent screener is still open. If you have not had an opportunity to do that parent screener, you may go to the Midtown High School website. We have a QR code there where you can scan it and do the parent screener for the students.
Dr. Blankenship, we have a question in the YouTube verse that is asking, what teachers are filling this out and how is it determined who fills out for each student? Each student has 8 teachers. Are they all filling this out for each student? Can you explain the teacher part of this? Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. That's a great question. And so our 2A teachers are filling out the screener. Typically, it will go to a homeroom teacher, but because we don't have homeroom teachers, one classroom teacher, academic teacher mostly fill this out for the student. So it's not going to be every teacher. It's just one teacher that fills it out for every kid in the 2A class. All right, so social and emotional learning. So what this looks like this year, it's similar to last year in that we're working with students on a daily basis. And so we do SEL 4 days a week at Midtown High School. But what's so awesome about this year is that we have a new curriculum that we are utilizing, which is called 7 Mindsets. This is a curriculum that was vetted, at the district level. There were a group of school-based individuals that sat on the committee to also take a look at this curriculum. And I absolutely think that it is absolutely wonderful. It gives an opportunity for students to interact with us. There's a variety of activities. You got videos there. There's some activities, hands-on type activities that the students can do in SEL, as well as some resources that they can utilize outside of the classroom. And so SEL is led by the school counseling team, as well as the school social worker. And the teachers also have been trained on the 7 Mindsets curriculum, and they are implementing SEL in their academic courses as well. So students should be getting SEL all throughout the day. We do have 2 support persons or individuals from the district. We have a high school SEL coordinator, Dr. Brian, that's provided some awesome support to us, as well as a 7 Mindsets coach that assists us as well with this implementation. But I think it's going very well. Our students are logging in through the counselor and social workers Zoom link, as well as our teachers. So we really thought it was important to continue with social and emotional learning. We started this last year with having our students log into Zoom every day. We did get a lot of positive feedback on, what the students were getting through SEL. So we felt it was important to continue with this, to make ourselves available, to really focus in on that area, to make sure that we're supporting our needs in the personal, social, as well as the mental health realm.
Just before, I know that there are a number of 9th grade parents on this call, and Ms. Pilecki, would you just talk for a minute about what you and Mrs. Hatcher are doing in your classroom visits to 9th graders?
Yes, absolutely. Good evening, everybody. So what we did do, because we felt like it was so very important since the students were at home for over a year, we thought it was really important to review with our freshman students the graduation requirements, the community service hour requirements, and to go through how we calculate their transcripts. So we did go into every 9th grade lit class, and we presented just a short little session on grades, how many credits it takes to earn your graduation. We talked about which classes are graduation requirements. We talked about how many credits you can earn each year and how many credits are required to be considered the next grade level. We then went over tutorials, and we talked about the community service piece that a lot of students, it kind of raised their eyebrows and when they realized, oh, we still have to do that. So we did go over all that with them and had really good conversations. We also surveyed them to find out at this point, what are they thinking they want to do post high school? So we gave them the future standpoint of, if in fact today was May, graduation day, 4 years from now, 2025, what would you want to do after high school graduation? And so they just did a check off, and we let them know that this is nothing set in stone, that they can change it at any point in time, but it just gives us a good sense of where they are at this current time. So we really enjoyed that. And we do have a large freshman class, but it was fun to get into those classes and see the kids and really interact in a face-to-face, personalized way.
We have an additional question from the YouTube verse on the 7 Mindsets curriculum. And it says, is the curriculum for the 7 Mindsets available for parents to review?
Yes, I can get that information and post it on the Midtown High School website for parents to review. Thank you.
So, we're almost coming up on a marking period on a quarter, which is the quarter ends October 6th. And some parents might be thinking, oh, I need to have a conference with my teacher. And if you're new to Midtown, and so many are just because of the pandemic, how do How do I get a conference with my teachers?
So parent-teacher conference are scheduled on the first and third Tuesday of each month. On the Midtown High School website, under the counseling page, we do have a Sign Up Genius where parents can go on and sign up for their conferences. You can request to meet with one teacher. You can request to meet with all teachers. Once you sign up on that Sign Up Genius link, it's going to come directly to the school counselors. We will schedule that with the teachers and help facilitate that process. So all you need to do is sign up. We'll get everyone scheduled for the conference, and then we'll be able to be at the conference. We'll be able to answer whatever questions or concerns that you may have at that conference while everyone is there. One thing I do want to say is we call it parent-teacher conference, but we also think it's important for the student to be at the conference. We think it's important for all parties to be there to make sure that everyone is on the same page, everyone is listening to the expectations, everyone knows what the expectations are in regards to promoting academic and behavior success for the students. So parents, for those of you all who want to sign up for a conference, please go to the Midtown High School website under the counseling and guidance page and schedule your conference, but also be sure to bring our lovely students to the school conference with you.
Just like 504 meetings and IEP meetings, we also want our students participating in those meetings as well. It's their life, it's their plan, their school. And so we really encourage students to be a part of that. And we do a lot of those meetings on Zoom because it increases participation of the parents. So what usually happens is, say a 504 meeting, Mrs. Maxwell will bring the student down into her office so that he or she is part of that conference. The parent may be at home or at their office or a job. And so that way everybody's participating. It really works well. So as you know, that I said in orientation or orientation sessions, it's really a time for high school, for students to learn to advocate for themselves. So we really try to do that a lot. So like Dr. Blankenship, says yes, kids should be part of those conferences. Mr. Montero.
Hello. Yes, I wanted to share a couple of things about the Media Center at Midtown High School. I'm Mr. Montero. Of course, we are in a new space this year, and part of the renovation, we're in the A building. We moved up from the old Media Center down where the cafeteria is. Whenever we have the multi-use room there, but we really are loving the new space. It's getting a lot of use already. The kids have been really excited about it. We're checking out more books than ever. So of course, as a librarian, that makes me very happy. Wanted to share a couple of things Media Center related. The main thing, one of our main initiatives this year is the APS Race to Read. It's a district-wide reading initiative where we're encouraging students, faculty and staff, and parents and community members now to log their reading minutes, hopefully daily. You can log up to 20 minutes a day on the Beanstack website. The district goal is to reach 10 million reading minutes this year, which is pretty lofty, but when you really start looking at the kind of reading minutes that you accrue during the year, I think we as a district can achieve that. And so be on the lookout for that from your students. I have a Schoology Media Center group that they can join, where all resources are going to be integrated and pushed out from. We're also trying to work with getting more district resources integrated through Schoology and public library resources. That's really exciting. The new learning management system lends itself to being able to integrate with other databases and the academic world as a whole in general, really make it easy to facilitate all that. And also, I wanted to remind you many of you may already be on the parent portal, but if you have not signed up for the parent portal, please get in touch with me. I put my email on the presentation. I can get you set up on the parent portal, or if you maybe have set a username and password up in the past, or you don't remember your password, or for whatever reason, maybe having some issues with parent portal, please get in touch with me. And I can help you out with that, getting you set up with that. That's very important for you to be able to track your students' attendance, grades. A lot of important information is pushed out through the parent portal. So you really want to be a part of that.
There are some wonderful selections in the Media Center. I often, when I'm out of reading material, I go into the Media Center and
Yes.
check something out too. Just really great, thoughtful selections for our kids and adults too. So,
We've got a great,
you do a great job.
yeah, we have a great community here of kids and adults and everyone, avid readers. So yeah, very happy to provide all kinds of resources for them. So.
So you've probably heard, you may have heard that we are adjusting, moving to a different signature program. If you don't know, our current signature program is college and career readiness. And so that came about 6 years ago when the district wrote their charter school their charter district application. And part of that was that all schools or all clusters in APS would choose a signature theme. And so the Grady cluster at that time, now the Midtown cluster, as a whole, and that's 5,500 kids, we chose to be college and career readiness. Part of the cluster, part of the district charter application says that these signature programs and in APS, they have been college and career readiness, STEM or STEAM, and IB, that those have to be under an accrediting agency body. And of course, AB has a very robust international, IB, a very robust international agency. STEAM is accredited by the state of Georgia. The GDOE has a great and rigorous process as well. And we used to, College and Career did have Battelle for Kids as an accrediting agency, but they are undergoing some transformation and they are no longer doing that, the accrediting at this point. So to stay in alignment with our charter, our district charter, we have to switch because we don't have an accrediting agency, and that's part of the charter. We are switching. And so the two options for our cluster and the Carver cluster, because they are also college and career ready, basically boil down to STEM/STEAM. We always say that, but STEM/STEAM and International Baccalaureate. So we're going through a process, and you can see right now the current status. The Office of Career, Technical, and Agricultural Education, so that's the CTAE department at APS, has been unable to find an alternate accreditation organization. I have to put my glasses on, Ms. Hollis, can't see that. As a signature program. So we have had CTAE has had initial conversations with the principals of the Carver and Midtown cluster, and some of that took place this summer, to discuss science, technology, engineering, and math, or International Baccalaureate as a signature program for the clusters. Based on existing programming and resources at each school, principals from both clusters have recommended STEM or STEAM with the inclusion of the arts as the best signature program moving forward. Again, that's what, as the principals, our recommendation. It's not set in stone, but that's our recommendation. If you were around 6 years ago, 5 years ago, you know that as a cluster, we looked at a number of, we looked at IB and we looked at STEM at that time and chose the college and career readiness. So we've really vetted both of those programs already. For our next steps, CTAE and principals will share why STEM/STEAM is the best for the Carver and Midtown clusters as part of the 2022-2025 cluster planning process, APS will work with cluster advisory teams, those are called the CATs, Go teams, and the community to discuss what STEM or STEAM could look like in their clusters and the appropriate next steps. In order to plan for the 22-23 budget cycle, the cluster should build out plans by January 2022. So starting that process. We do have a CAT meeting, cluster advisory team, next Wednesday, October 6th, and people are welcome to listen in and be a part of the STEM process, or the signature process will be part of that meeting. So people are welcome to be a part of that. And that's posted on the APS website, the CAT meetings, as well as all Go team meetings. So we are fortunate that if we move in the direction of STEM, that Ms. Davis has experience in that, in STEM and in helping schools get to the level where they are accredited. So we're fortunate to that. No matter which program we choose, there are budget implications, of course. IB is very expensive. Requires a lot of financial resources to get that off the ground. And it's definitely a cluster process from the early years, the early learning years, to the middle grades program, middle years program, through high school. So we'll talk more about that, but that's kind of what's behind why do we have to change. What will not change is our focus on high academics, creating a school where everyone can be welcome, inclusive. I mean, we have 28 AP classes at this point. That's not going away. So, our focus on getting kids ready for after high school will never change. That's none of these programs changes that direction. So I don't want anybody to worry about that. We have a steady hand on that. We continue our process and continue our progress with that.
So we have several questions. I don't know if you want to save these to the Q&A, because I think we have one more slide, or if you want.
Okay, we'll just move on, and then we'll go on to the next slide, and then we'll come back to that. Okay, big doings next week. Ms. McBride, you want to talk about that?
I'd love to. So hi again, everybody. So this evening, we gave you kind of a bird's eye view of what's been going on at Midtown. And I'm really thrilled to tell you about sort of a new way of doing open house in this the current environment that we're living in. We are going to have very informal office hours next week on October 4th and 5th. And so you are welcome to join us virtually. We want to tell you a little bit about what is happening on each day. We've broken up the departments into 2 separate days. So on October 4th, that is Monday, I believe, those office hours are going to be held by our CTAE, JROTC, math, arts, and ELA teachers. And so as you can see on this slide, they have various slots, and it's very, very informal. So it's an opportunity for you to meet your students' teachers, learn about the courses that they're taking, spend some time getting to know the teacher, building relationships with the teacher, continuing to build those relationships with the teacher. I will say this is not an opportunity for one-on-one conferences. As we already heard earlier today, parent-teacher student conferences can be scheduled through the counseling department. So this is an opportunity just to learn about what's going on in your students' classes, have some time to interact directly with the teacher. It's very informal. Come with your questions, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So I've mentioned the departments for October 4th. On October 5th, that's going to be the science, world language, social studies, and PE teachers. And you can just take a slot and just drop in very informally. You stay as long as you want. And then, for example, if you have a student who might be taking 2 CTAE classes, you could drop in to one during the 6 and 6:25 slot, drop into the other at the 7 to 7:25 slot. So you decide how you want to spend your time, but it's guaranteed to be a lot of fun. The teachers are really looking forward to it and sharing what's going on in their classes now and what your students have to look forward to for the rest of the semester and the rest of the year. So how do you get to these office hours? The teachers have posted it, or if they have not, they are posting their Zoom links in their Schoology platform in a folder called Important Information. So you can just go in through Schoology, click on the link, and you will be able to join the office hours.
I'm excited about this. It's something new. The teachers are excited about it, and they're really ready to present this to you. You know, I remember when my oldest, who's 21, was a freshman at Grady, and we had the curriculum night, and going to 8 different classes. I think we started at 6:30. We finished at 9:30. I still remember that. That was exhausting, and I could only imagine from the teacher point of view, because they had to do it 6 times. I did it 8 times, but they did it 6 times in one night. Those kind of meet and greet kind of things. And so I think this is a really a good thing. We'll see how this goes. We're still really reluctant to have hundreds of people on campus that, adults that aren't there every day. It's difficult. And, I can't even tell you how taxing really on the teachers that kind of curriculum night is that we've done in the past. So, I've done it from a parent point of view. I've done it from a teacher point of view, from a principal point of view, and it's just a lot. So I hope we can convey the same kind of information here. A couple of things I just wanted to bring up, like a COVID update. We're still fighting the COVID every day. We're still really pushing the masks, and I would ask that you send your kids with masks. We're going through over 200 masks a day, a paper mask at least. And, over 180-day school year, that's a lot of masks. And yes, we have CARES Act funding, but a lot of, kids are just relying on us to provide them with the masks. And so we'd really like if you could spread that to your community, that we need kids to bring their own masks. The paper masks were really meant as a backup, but they're becoming a primary mask now. We continue to have 3 or 4 positive cases a week. These positive cases don't usually happen during the Friday testing for kids. They tend to be at other times. We have had a couple. We've had 2 that have popped up in the Friday testing, and but that's not where we get the majority of them. We have teachers that have tested positive that are vaccinated. That is definitely happening. As some of you may have been vaccinated and had COVID. I've had that happen in my household. So, we just continue to fight it with the masks and the distancing as much as possible. The teachers are doing all they can to try to keep kids apart, but it's a Herculean task. So, there was a question that was submitted that asked about staff members and vaccinations, and can parents find that out? That's, of course, it's private information. It's confidential information. You can't know who's vaccinated and who's not. And I don't know that it would really matter, really. I know sometimes teachers in other schools, parents have asked, well, I want my child to be with a vaccinated teacher. Can imagine that that's not something that can happen, but so just know that I hear that question, but I can't release that information as to who's vaccinated and who's not. Our teachers and staff, all of us, test twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays. As Tuesdays and Fridays, we do surveillance testing, and we have about 95% participation in that. The only reason we don't is if a teacher was absent or something like that, but the district really pushes you to go to another site to have that twice weekly testing. So that's where we are with COVID. If any children are struggling, if you have a kid that's struggling with math, we do have extra math. We have the Math Center that is open Monday, Wednesday, Thursday afternoon up in our math floor. And that is from basically after school till what time, Ms. Hollis, like 5:15?
5:30.
5:30. So it's 3 days a week. It's staffed by our math teachers. So your student can go there and just get, sometimes it's from his or her teacher, but sometimes it's from other teachers as well. So that is supported by our Boys High Foundation. That is a kind of gift in perpetuity for us to provide some extra tutoring as well. We do have, speaking of counseling, if you don't know, we have Chris 180, which is on-site therapist, Ms. Burden. She has an office too, and it's very unobtrusive. If you think you might want to avail yourself or your kid of that services, one of our counselors can hook you up with that and talk to you about that. Okay, so questions?
So you have a lot of questions about the signature program change. And with that, most of it is about STEM versus STEAM. And do you have to pick one or the other? And if so, can you please include arts for the students that are more interested in humanities areas? So if you want to give some voice to that.
Sure. Ms. Davis, I wonder if you might be able to talk a little bit about that, but I'm absolutely on board with the arts for sure. So just know that is, yes, we're there.
Okay, well, just looking at it from the DOE standpoint and certification, you do have the STEAM certification as well as the STEM certification. So there are two different types of certifications. Of course, STEAM includes the arts and infusing the arts along with the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So you can do both at the same time.
Can you talk a little bit about what, so what does that mean if you're a STEM school? Does that mean in 9th grade lit, you're going to be talking about engineering, or like just a brief overview of what that means? Because we're all discovering, we're all going to look at this.
And honestly, it looks different at different schools. So when we're
Her internet, she did things. Okay, your internet was unstable, so you kind of paused. You said it looks different at different schools. Pick up from there.
Okay, and I'm going to go off camera to see if that will help. Okay, yeah, so what I was saying, the program looks different, so it's not necessarily a cookie cutter, but we do have a rubric that the DOE provides that we follow, and it is more of an integrated approach to STEM. And so it can be where they're in our literature class, and they are discussing or planning out or even writing about something related to a STEM field or STEM experience. So yes, it's true integration. It looks a little different when you're looking at the secondary level because you can do program as well as whole school. So you can look at from both, from two different approaches, I should say.
And so the question follow-ups with what certification demands will either program place on teachers? What implications would either program have on current classes pathway offerings to students? And questions about teachers and financing these programs. One parent said that she has a student that's in IB and a student that was in our program, and that IB is very expensive. So if you want to answer any of those.
Could you repeat that first part of that question?
The certification demands, what are the certification demands with either program? Would either program place on teachers? What implications would either program have on current classes, pathways, and offerings to students?
And so honestly, it is already part of what teachers do naturally in their teaching. And I think Ms. Hollis and we spoke about it before, the fact of all of the extracurricular, from the robotics to the CTAE, the different pathways. It is I wouldn't say simple, but it is definitely already infused in instruction. And so it wouldn't be a heavy lift for teachers, is kind of what they do already. So with the certification part of it is just us looking at the rubric and ensuring that we're meeting every expectation for that certification.
And prior to the pandemic, we did have have conversations with CTAE about adding STEAM and then, well, STEM and then STEAM, because incorporating arts throughout may be a little bit more of a lift, where STEAM might be a little easier to pull off. Do you want to give a little voice to that?
You can, and then also when you're looking at STEAM, you can look at it from a thematic point of view. And so when you're looking at it with the arts, it could possibly be very abstract as it relates back to the STEAM with the arts as being integrated.
So the next question, which is still about the same thing, Dr. Bachman, the question is, will the community have a say in the decision process as we decided on college and career?
Yes. I don't know exactly what that's going to look like. I think next Wednesday at our CAT meeting, we'll talk more about what does that look like as far as community engagement. But yes, it was so important when we, that process was really great that we went through with the college and career. And I would like that to go through as well, even if it, yes, it ends up being STEAM. But what can the community add to that as well? You know, and it will be a K-12 situation that, you know, Mary Lynn will be doing things that supports, I mean, all of us will be doing the things that support it. Financially, budget-wise, we will have to devote some money to a full-time IB or STEAM coordinator on the school site. That is a requirement. So, you know, that'll be $100,000 out of our budget, but that's fine. I mean, that's what we'll do for next year. That's a requirement for that. So more to come on that.
Your next concern is what will happen with world languages? Will current classes be lost to accommodate a STEAM certification?
No, absolutely not. That's very important. Our world language is really, really important here at Midtown. So no, we won't lose that. You know, I think once we go through the process, and having never been through a process other than what we went through with college and career, I think we're going to come out of it thinking, wow, we are really far ahead. I know that we're going to check off tons of boxes, whatever those boxes are for a certification process. I just, you know, we do everything. We try to overachieve in everything at Midtown. And so I know that we're going to be in great shape. Whatever they throw at us, whatever the process is, whatever the box is, the checks marks, we're going to be in good shape. You know, I just know that because we really do try to be not all things to all kids, but a lot of things to all kids. And Ms. Davis mentioned some of our after school programs, but I mean, we keep adding those and they're just bursting at the seams every day. You know, we added a cinema club, and then, you know, every day we add something. It can be mathematical, it can be humanities. It's just, there's something, you know, always. So if you want to make some suggestions to your kids, and not that they take your suggestions in high school, but have them look at Mr. Montero has a very updated list of all the clubs and activities, and, you know, everything from physics to theater to board games to, you know, the Muslim club, just everything there.
So maybe Dr. Blankenship can add the counseling level to this, because there does seem to be concern if there is STEAM that certain things are going to go away, and world languages and arts are part of the units needed for graduation, so they can't go away. And I don't know if Dr. Blankenship wants to give a little voice to that to kind of soothe some of the concerns.
Good point.
Yes, so as Ms. Holly stated, foreign language, world language, as well as visual art courses, CTAE courses are required for students to graduate from Atlanta Public Schools. But looking at it from a college standpoint for world languages, it's encouraged that students take at least a third year of a world language to really be competitive through the college application process. So, you know, as Dr. Bachman was saying, I can't see that really going away because our students really apply to a lot of top tier colleges and universities, and they are looking for that third year of language. But definitely 2 years of world languages, the same world languages, is required for our students to graduate from Atlanta Public Schools, in addition to visual arts as well as CTAE.
We've got just a couple more minutes. Anything burning, Ms. Hollis?
No, just wanted to point out, a parent asked about tutorial times, and those tutorial times are listed on the website for every teacher under quick links. And then another question was asked, do I have to use Schoology to access the links for office hours? And Schoology is the learning management platform. So that is the safest way for us to give you the Zoom links, such that if we were to publicize them, then other entities can get access or gain access to those said links. And so we're trying to keep the environments safe and conducive to you actually meeting the teachers. We did think about that, and protecting the page, giving out passwords, things of that nature. But we don't have the IT personnel to be able to constantly change and update that to where it stays safe, and the information doesn't get out. So that is kind of from a safety and security from a internet perspective why we chose to go that route.
Okay. Well, thank you all for being part of this process. I enjoyed it. I always enjoy talking about Midtown and talking about the Midtown cluster. It means a lot to me. So I'm always happy to share. Thanks everybody who was on here tonight. Appreciate it. And we'll see you next week in our office hours. Thank you.